My perspective on this as an individual is it stresses us out as creators because we get garbage every day in our inboxes. And part of our job is figuring out what's bull, what's not bull. And we don't always get it right. Like we're not perfect, but I'd say overall, like 98, 99% of things that we cover end up being legitimate services and projects.
Are you sure about that?
I seem to recall some bullshit services you recommended.
Can you use cryptocurrency for an entire day on a road trip? We're here in the Redwoods and we're about to spend the rest of the day only spending crypto with CakePay. CakePay from Cake Wallet allows you to buy gift cards from over 150,000 merchants in the US, all with Monero, Bitcoin, or Litecoin, all inside the same app, and all you need is an email. This all sounds fantastic on paper, but Cake Wallet said, we'll sponsor you guys to try it out, and here we are, and we're gonna find out if it's actually that easy to use.
I'm sure these glowing reviews add credibility to CakePay. Let's also not forget that any privacy benefits Monero offers become completely negated because you're using a smartphone. You've even pointed out the dangerous ways a smartphone can track you, yet you recommended this service anyway.
As for privacy, Bluetooth is a major component of invasive technologies like contact tracing, as well as methods like tracking individuals in things like retail stores. The next radio is GPS. GPS is great for navigation and other situations that require your location, but there are concerns, especially with recent location-based features from Google and Apple. Location data can be used in ways you may not intend, like tracking travel patterns, targeting you for marketing, and location tracking itself is another data point used to build a comprehensive record on your life. We've seen how Uber handled this back in Section 3, Apple got in trouble some time ago for storing GPS data in an unencrypted file, and if you've enabled Google location history, just go look for yourself at how extensive this can be. Additionally, certain apps and programs may publicly reveal your location without your knowledge, opening up the door for stalkers. The last concern is surveillance. Law enforcement agencies can obtain location data through various methods. To add to this, according to a report by the ACLU, law enforcement agents can track innocent people who happen to be in the vicinity of a crime. So this can impact people who do nothing wrong, and they aren't even alerted when their data is snagged. The best thing to do is to not record the data in the first place.
Let's also not forget that your gift card transactions are logged every time you use said gift card. Have you ever looked at your store receipts? Your transactions are timestamped with the location of said purchase. It wouldn't be hard to correlate your identity to the places you've used these CakePay gift cards. Best thing to do would be convert your Monero into cash. Paying with cash gives you the best privacy, especially since it doesn't rely on some silly phone app. Let's also not forget your constant shilling of the Signal Messenger and Apple devices.
People can prove math, and you can trust the people who are able to verify that. So when people spout BS, like Signal is compromised, you're effectively saying that math isn't real. Yeah, and also, and here we go, people are going to be like, Signal fanboys, because people think we're Signal fanboys, and it's like, no, it's because it's proven, and even during like something like this is an account takeover.
Yeah, which is really bad.
Yeah, but a Signal account takeover, all it gets you is the possibility to like socially engineer. You brought up Session, and I was thinking of comments. We get like 1 million comments about Session. People think that like we shill Signal back here, which yes, I kind of do, but also like I feel like I give Signal the amount of love that it deserves, and I also crap on it when it deserves crap. I'm still gonna always recommend an Apple iDevice over like any Android device to most people in my life. It's just generally gonna be better for privacy and security for them, from what I've done and what I've researched. I'm not including custom ROMs in that, I'm just saying between those two. So if you're not as technical and you can't do the custom ROM route, personally, I genuinely recommend an iPhone over a stock Android device like a Pixel nowadays if you have no plans of getting on the custom ROM. I don't think that should be an unpopular opinion in the privacy world. If you're here this long and you've heard my thoughts on this, it's pretty clear. Like, I really do push the people in my real life towards iPhones if they're deciding between things. I just say iPhone or Pixel. But personally, I kind of want them more on iPhones than the Pixels, unless they're planning on doing custom ROM situations. With all of this said, and before you throw your iPhone out the window, I like to add perspective on this. It's been found in other research articles that even first-party data collection is collected less on iPhones than Android devices, so I wouldn't be pushing people away from iPhones for this reason alone. unless they're able to move to some kind of open source custom ROM or some other alternative, because frankly, Google is still a lot more invasive than Apple on an operating system level, and it comes with less aggressive stances towards third parties accessing your data. So I would argue out of the box, iPhone versus stock Android, it's still a downgrade if you move to an Android device.
We had the story about Apple and just some more affirmation, whatever word I'm looking for, just more confirmation that Apple is a slightly better choice in terms of privacy, but they're certainly not bulletproof.
How private are Macs realistically? I'm going to be honest, for a lot of threat models, and I think especially for just average people, again, like, how private is something is kind of subjective to like what privacy means to the individual. I really think that Macs are like very great devices overall from a privacy perspective. Yes, they're proprietary, blah, 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 but like you can actually verify a lot of this. And long story short, macOS is a pretty good place to be overall. No, it's not completely private. It's not like Linux where you can pretty much have full assurance that like there's no data being submitted to any kind of entity, especially if you toggle off telemetry and all that stuff. With that said, what Apple collects is very minimal, especially compared to Windows. It's also a very secure operating system from the get-go, and it also protects yourself from third parties extremely well. Again, privacy, there's like first-party privacy, but there's also third-party privacy, and this is where macOS excels a lot, in my opinion. Like, for example, if you install OBS on a Windows device or even a Linux device, it just works. You just open OBS, and it has access to your camera, it has access to your webcam, it has access to all your files. It can do anything on your computer. On macOS, it's not like that. You open OBS on macOS, you have to give it permission to access specific directories on your computer. It can't access any of your files, and you can actually make OBS only access one single file directory on your computer. To access your camera, it's just like your phone. You have to give it a permission. To access your microphone, you have to give it a permission. To access your keyboard shortcuts, you have to give it a permission. To record your screen, you have to give it a permission. People on Linux and Windows, unless you're using like flat packs that with like Flat Seal or something, there's like very few ways to actually stop a program you install from just recording your screen. Which is a crazy thing when you think about it, because phones don't work that way. Phones are much more modern, but macOS kind of has a similar threat model and a similar setup as phones have, which is really nifty. So again, very complicated answer. It depends what you're going for as well. If you want something that's fully transparent, doesn't contact any first parties or third parties, and like you feel like you have full control of everything, Linux is probably the way to go for you. With that said, I can't find really any argument for Windows over macOS from a privacy or security perspective. There might be a couple things that excel on Windows, but like in the scheme of things, I just really can't find many justifications to use Windows over macOS. And I think macOS isn't a bad place to be from a privacy and security perspective, especially if you follow our macOS privacy and security guide, which I really recommend you check out because it really does take Apple devices to the next level. There's an iOS and a macOS privacy guide that I recommend everyone checks out that are on the Techlore channel.
So no, you don't promote legitimate products and services. You promote things that sacrifice privacy and security in favor of convenience. The fact that you continue to promote such projects while ignoring their shady histories shows this is intentional on your part and not out of ignorance. As long as you continue to promote BS privacy recommendations, I will continue to call you out on them.
I fight for the users.